The Australian Grand Prix will ultimately be remembered for one thing and one thing only, and that was the brilliance of Kimi Raikkonen in difficult conditions in the build-up to the race, the dry, wet qualifying sessions, and then the race itself, in which tyre management and tyre degradation became very much the catchwords. It was Kimi Raikkonen who did the almost perfect job. I say almost, like it was a perfect job, actually, to extract the best from the Lotus E21, James Allison's fabulous new car, and to win the Grand Prix by enough margin over Fernando Alonso's Ferrari to show that it wasn't just cars here. This was a lot to do with race management and the way you drive. And when Kimi has a great race, there's really only one person to speak to straight away, and that, of course, is Rob Wilson. And that's because Rob, with the encouragement of the Robertson family, father and son, had a very, very good look at Kimi when he was in Formula Renault, and then identified him as the great driver as he is. And he's been a follower of Kimi and a great believer in Kimi ever since. So this is what Rob had to say when I spoke to him from Bruntingthorpe, where he was just about to begin yet another training day, on this occasion with a young Japanese driver.
Yeah, he just does the job, and there are subtle little things you can see as he's leaving corners, keeping the car just flat for a car length or so, and his direction change, not going for massive high mid-corner speed in the slower corners, just direction change, and very, very supple driver, and a very straight line driver once the manipulation's done, for coming out. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to see. Will the people pick up on that? I don't know.
It was very interesting, I think, in the closing stages of the race when he was certainly under some pressure from Fernando Alonso, who was in pretty good shape with the Ferrari at that point in terms of his tyre situation. And we could there see, I'm interested from your point of view, were you able to see some significant differences between the way Fernando was driving and Kimi?
Well, Fernando has a little bit more energy goes into the car. It's just superb. He's probably doing the second best job in the whole race there. So, yeah, just a little more aggressive Fernando, which is going to work the car a little bit harder. But again, Kimi, fastest lap, a couple of laps from the end, when people were thinking, oh, is he prepared? Is he physically okay for the race? He just showed, once again, let Alonso know, don't even bother trying.
The tyre degradation story was a big one, and I know that you're also a great believer in Kimi's style when it comes to minimising the downsides of tyre degradation, and I say that in the context that it's quite common to hear people say, oh, well, Jenson Button is the world's greatest tyre conserver because he's so smooth, but it's a deeper thing than that, I think, from your perspective.
Yeah, it is. Well, Jenson's rates of input, the way he tells the car what's coming, it's absolutely superb, and that he's a master at. But he tends to be a more traditional driver, taking the traditional lines and just the one-wheel movement going around corners. It's admirable to look at, but he tends not to manipulate the car mid-corner for direction change, and so the smooth driving, but the corners do go on for a bit longer. And of course, if you've got a problem with your car, then if you've got longer corners, that is a longer arc, then that problem is going to materialize over a greater percentage of a lap. Whereas if you get someone like Kimi, Bottas, and a number of other people, where we have very short corners, just don't spend the time going around them, slightly better direction change mid-corner, in other words, then if there's any problem with the car, then it's not going to manifest over quite such a long percentage, high percentage of the lap. It also obviously looks after the tyres for longer because you've got a slightly squarer, flatter car in for the first 3 or 4 car lengths accelerating out of a corner. It's a very subtle little difference.
And you mentioned Valtteri Bottas earlier, his Formula One debut, of course, Esteban Gutierrez and others. How did you feel he compared with the other rookies?
Well, no question. He's I think the fastest of the rookies. Bianchi's looking like he could be a serious player, but for sure, Bottas definitely a man of the future. The Williams wasn't as quick as it should be, so that race was anonymous in terms of the general public. But he's outperformed Pasta there, I think, in that race, and made a couple of fewer mistakes. And Pastor, I think that's why at least he got it to the end. It was a good effort in a car that wasn't as fast as Williams were hoping it would be.
Rob, as ever, great talking to you, great having your insight. I'll let you go. I know you've got some interesting Japanese clients today up at Bruntingthorpe.
We are, yes. We're about to start now. Starting a little bit early today because going to fly back out to Japan. It's first time in England. So, yeah, here we go. We're off to work and you're off to Malaysia.